If I look tired as hell, it's because I am. Thanks for asking. Let's get into these NFL playoff predictions because holy crap. So, here's a reminder, real quick, if you've been living under a rock: no Chiefs, no Bengals, no Ravens, no Lions this year in the playoffs. No Buccaneers either. This is, without a doubt, one of the most wide open playoff fields we have seen in quite some time. Every team has their strengths, every team has their weaknesses, and nobody is safe. And I feel like we say this every now and again. We've even said this about the Chiefs the last couple years. The problem is the Chiefs always have that voodoo magic to get by until they got destroyed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year. It doesn't feel like that this year, though. It feels like anybody could win. And there's multiple teams that could go on a run this year. Whether they make the Super Bowl or not, you know, you got two AFC South teams, neither of whom have been to the Super Bowl. One of them hasn't been to the AFC title game, and there's a realistic possibility that the both of them could end up getting there. That's how insane this is. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at these games for wild card weekend first, and then we'll go on as the bracket, goes. Um, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with the two 4v5 matchups: Pittsburgh versus Houston, Carolina versus LA, because I have both of the five seeds advancing. The plan is simple, really, for both the Rams and the Texans. For the Rams, you literally just have to do better than you did the first time you played Carolina, where you lost. Um, Now, if Carolina can employ the same blueprint that they had from that game and do it a little more efficiently and whatnot, then Carolina has a chance, but they need everything to go right. And LA is not going to let themselves lose to a below 500 team in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. Houston, on the other hand, for all the concerns about that offense, as long as the defense shows up in this game, you're okay. Like, Stroud just has to, if the defense shows up, Stroud just has to do the bare minimum, and Houston will get by at least two scores. If Aaron Rodgers can piece up Houston's defense, though, that's going to be a problem because even though Houston's offense has been clicking lately, you just never know. You just never know. But I will take both of the five seeds advancing to the divisional round. And then next, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Patriots and the Chargers. First of all, holy crap, the Patriots are here as the two seed in year two of Drake May, in year one of Mike Vrabel. I don't give a damn about the schedule. It is what it is. We got this far. Here we are. Now, I'm a Justin Herbert fan also because he went to Oregon and I have family out there. Um, Shout out them. But it's going to be a quick one for the Chargers. If LA had both of their starting tackles, it might be a little different. And I've seen some stuff talking about how New England isn't the greatest at getting pressure on the quarterback, and you're probably right. But I don't think it's going to matter here. It's as long as the rest of the defense can make Herbert make mistakes, um, we should be fine. Now, granted, I have said this multiple times now. If we lose at any point in time in the playoffs, we weren't even supposed to be here. So the fact that we are, sorry, we weren't supposed to be here this quickly. So the fact that we are is we're we're basically playing on house money at this point. But that being said, I do think the Patriots will get past the Chargers and advance to the divisional round. So I guess we'll go ahead and then take a look at the other 2v7 matchup: Bears Packers round 3. And I feel like it's so easy to say that the Packers could just beat the Bears. I mean, Green Bay had their way with Chicago the first time, and then the second time, it basically took uh Jordan Love getting hurt with a concussion and getting knocked out of the game, and then Malik Willis also getting hurt for the Bears to even have a chance to win the game, and that game still had to go to overtime. The Bears, or I think it went to overtime. Either way, the Bears had to recover an onside kick and all this other stuff. This is where, if anybody has something to prove in this game, it's Chicago. Because now you're here, you're in the playoffs, and now you need to put an ass whooping on Green Bay. This is a depleted Packers roster, that's coming off of that loss to the Ravens a couple weeks ago, the loss to the Vikings in the final week of the year, and I understand a lot of it was backup and third string guys, but even still, the Packers got pantsed by the Vikings. This is a Packers team on life support, and if you if the Bears let the Packers beat them here, you're going to be joked about all the way up until next year or next season rather, because yeah. So I'm going to reluctantly take the Bears. I It's too easy to pick the Packers here. I'm going to pick the Bears. Watch this come back to bite me in the ass. I swear. Watch this come back to bite me in the ass. Um Next, Eagles 49ers. And this is the hilarious thing. If the Packers and the Niners both win, well, actually, no, that doesn't make sense because you have higher seeds still in. But anyway, um, so ignore that. Eagles Niners. So you have a 49ers team whose defense is depleted because of injuries, as it tends to be, and they've somehow made it work to this point, against an Eagles team that, if you're only having to play the first half of the game, they win like every time. But as soon as you get to the second half, it's like something goes wrong. Something It's like a light switch gets flicked, and all of a sudden the Eagles just start malfunctioning. Um, we've had multiple times this year where Jalen Hurts barely does jack and shite in the second half. Um, you have, Saquon hasn't had the greatest year. Eagles fans are mad at Kevin Patullo. This is a team that if they lose in round one, it's crazy to think they will have gone from winning the Super Bowl to getting eliminated in the wild card and then possibly, maybe, getting shaken up in the offseason. And honestly, I think that's what's going to happen. I'm taking San Fran. I am taking San Fran. I just I just have this feeling the Niners are going to find a way to get it done. It's probably going to come down to the final minute of the game. Either be a Brock Purdy touchdown drive or a game-winning field goal drive, something like that. Niners get it done. So, we flip back to the other side in what could be the game of the week. Jaguars Bills. Jacksonville is sort of in the same position that New England is in, but kind of different in that um when Liam Cohen came in this offseason, actually, what's funny about the Jaguars is people were somehow less optimistic about Liam Cohen in Jacksonville than they were about Vrabel coming over to New England. And a lot of it, I think, just stems from the way in which Liam said Duval in his press conference. which is weird. Um, but for Jacksonville to get turned around the way they did, and there were times earlier this year where it didn't look so great, is remarkable. And they legitimately could go on a run. If you're the Bills, though, this is your last stand. And I've seen some people say, if you think it's open, if you think things have opened up more for the Bills now that with Burrow, Lamar, and Mahomes not being in the playoffs this year, then you're lying to yourself, or it does a slap in the face to the rest of the playoff field. You're probably right. But that's the narrative because of everything that Buffalo has been through and because the Patriots are back. If the Patriots did not have the record that they had this year and didn't show that, yeah, we might be back, I don't think people are talking about that nearly as much. But there is desperation in the air for the Buffalo Bills because if you lose this game, um, there's going to be some significant changes in Buffalo. And I don't just mean the new stadium they're getting. Like, I'm talking head coach fired, GM maybe gets fired, um, and the team sort of kind of gets blown up outside of Josh Allen, and you restructure everything. This is the time to get the job done for Buffalo. And the problem is, I don't think they can. You know, um, Buffalo not Buffalo not managing to take the division from New England at the end of the year. After Buffalo beat New England in New England is going to come back to haunt them if they lose to Jacksonville. Because if you got that higher seed, if things break a different way, you could have rematched with New England. You could have ended up playing the Chargers. Nope. You are getting beaten by the Jaguars in round one. See you later. So that means that you have highest seed versus lowest seed remaining. You have a Denver Houston rematch actually, in round two, and the Patriots and the Jaguars. Meanwhile, you have Seattle and San Fran as the highest seed versus lowest seed remaining. And then you have the Bears and the Rams. Three of the four spots in the divisional round for the NFC are NFC West teams. Pretty remarkable. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll start over there and we'll start with Seattle and San Fran. The battles that those two teams have put on against each other this year have been incredible. Um, San Fran choking to Seattle a few weeks back, which basically all but gave Seattle the division and the one seed. Absolutely insane. And I want to say that San Fran will learn from that and get revenge. However, I do think that unlike with the Eagles and their offensive problems, despite a very damn good defense, I think Seattle's defense will put an end to the Niners season once and for all. Um, and Seattle will get the job done and win. Darnold could falter even slightly, and that Seattle defense will find a way to get a couple interceptions off of Brock Purdy. Um, that's just how these matchups tend to go with the NFC West. It's one quarterback could look like crap, but their defense will find a way to step up and make the other QB look like crap. So Seattle advances, and then on the other side, Bears and Rams. This is gonna be fun. Um, if the Bears can get past a depleted Green Bay roster that they managed to struggle with, I really want to see what they would do against LA. And all I can think of is the LA Jacksonville game that got played overseas earlier this year, where Jacksonville, I think, was like a week or two removed from the win over the Chiefs, and then LA just completely stomped on them. And I have a feeling if we get Bears Rams in the divisional round, that's what's going to happen here. Matthew Stafford is going to be like, Caleb, you might be one of the best quarterbacks in the league someday, but today is not that day. And old man Stafford probably throws for like 4 touchdowns, 300 something yards. Puka goes off, Devontae goes off, and the Rams will go face off with Seattle for the NFC title. On the other side, Denver and Houston. This is going to be another incredible matchup. The last time they played each other, uh, Denver was able to get the job done, if memory serves me correctly. Um, and this is pretty much a battle between two defenses that want to completely destroy the other team's quarterback. And really, this could legitimately be like a 0-0, a 3-3 sort of ball game up until the final minutes of the game. And this is the ultimate winner has the ball last type game. And I have to give the advantage to Denver being at home at Mile High. Um, I just again, it's the concerns about the offense of the Texans. If they can make it work, again, all it takes is for Bo Nix to just throw a couple of interceptions and Denver gets off kilter, even if that defense is balling out. The problem is the same thing can happen to the Texans and Stroud. So, which that feels like a theme in this year's playoffs and in this season in general. But I will give it to Denver to advance to the AFC title game. And then Patriots and Jaguars. I love the Patriots. I love the season we've had. Don't get me wrong. But I do believe Jacksonville will get the job done and walk into New England and get some revenge from like what 2017 when they lost to us in the AFC title game. Um, so now Jacksonville will make their second ever AFC championship game by beating the team that beat them the first time they made it. And it's just gonna be one of those things where if everything breaks right, this could be a playoff rivalry down the road. Um, but Denver and Jacksonville, Seattle and the Rams. Okay. So Jacksonville already played Denver this year. And Jacksonville walked into Denver and beat Denver by multiple scores. Obviously, it's the playoffs. It's going to be colder. It's going to be harder to play in Mile High. And I'm not sure it matters. Bo Nix is going to have to be perfect because Trevor's going to go out there. They're going to probably employ the same game plan that they did the first time. And as long as Trevor can execute, I don't think Bo Nix is going to be able to keep up. There's a very legitimate chance the Jacksonville Jaguars go to their first ever Super Bowl this year, and I think they'll do it. On the other side, Seattle and the Rams, another round three NFC West matchup. And if Seattle can survive San Fran, I don't know if they're going to survive another round against the Rams because this is legitimately this is I've said this to some people close to me this year. I think everything considered, this is Matthew Stafford's last ride. If he can get to the Super Bowl, maybe even win the thing, I do believe that he will probably retire. He's also in line to get the MVP. It's either going to be him or Drake May. Um, I, I I love Drake May. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the last few games should dictate whether or not Stafford gets the MVP. I think he's had the better year, and I think on top of that, um, Stafford's also doing all of this when you consider that he had a back injury in the preseason and the offseason that we all wondered whether or not he was going to play this year off of. So, all told, I think the Rams will go to the Super Bowl. Um, they kind of just got screwed with with taking some L's down the road that they shouldn't have, but they have a chip on their shoulder, and Stafford is going to throw this team into the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, I don't think Darnold is going to be good enough in the NFC title game to get the job done. Um, so Jacksonville, LA Rams. The theme of the playoffs has been rematches, and here's another one. Now, like I said before, Jacksonville, when they played the Rams earlier this year, they got pummeled. Here's the thing. This is not the same Jacksonville team that got pummeled by the Rams earlier this year. Yes, they're down Travis Hunter, but they picked up Jacoby Myers. And Jacoby Myers has significantly helped this offense and has helped Trevor Lawrence tremendously. That being said, and I just got done saying this is probably Stafford's last ride. And I truly believe if he gets there, it might not matter who he has to play coming out of the AFC. Matthew Stafford is going to get the job done. The LA Rams win their second Super Bowl in this decade, and Stafford goes out with potentially a second Super Bowl ring, an MVP, and depending on it's either going to be him, Puka, or Jared Verse that will win Super Bowl MVP. Depending on how this game goes. But the Rams are going to be your Super Bowl champions. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.